Step right up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the heart of ancient Rome, the Colosseum. Forget everything you think you know from movies and TV shows. Today, we're pulling back the curtain to reveal the real story of the Gladiators. A world of sweat, blood, and surprising spectacle that captivated an entire empire. This isn't just about fighting, it's about life, death, and the brutal entertainment that defined an era. So, who were these legendary figures? Were they all condemned prisoners forced to fight? Well, not exactly. The origins of gladiatorial combat are actually rooted in funeral rites. Wealthy families would stage fights to the death to honor a deceased ancestor, believing the blood spilled would appease the spirits of the underworld. It was a solemn, religious affair. But, as with many things, the Romans saw its potential for entertainment, and soon, these private rituals exploded into massive public spectacles, funded by emperors and politicians to win the favor of the people. Imagine this. You're a prisoner of war, a condemned criminal, or someone deep in debt. You're given a choice: face certain execution, or enter the ludus, the gladiatorial school. It wasn't much of a choice, but for some, it was a sliver of hope. Inside the ludus, life was a grueling routine of discipline and relentless training. You'd be under the strict control of a lanista, the school's owner and trainer. Your day would start at dawn, filled with exercises to build muscle, stamina, and skill. You'd practice with wooden swords, far heavier than the real thing, to build strength. Every meal was calculated for peak physical performance, usually a high-carb diet of barley and beans. It was a harsh, controlled existence, but it was also a brotherhood forged in hardship. Now let's talk about the stars of the show. Not all gladiators were created equal. They were highly specialized fighters, each with unique armor and weapons, creating thrilling and unpredictable matchups. You had the retiarius, quick and agile, armed only with a trident and a net. His opponent might be the heavily armored secutor, whose helmet had only 2 small eye holes, designed to protect against the trident's prongs. Then there was the murmillo, with his large shield and fish-crested helmet, often pitted against the thraex, who wielded a curved short sword perfect for getting around a shield. These weren't random brawls, they were tactical duels, a deadly chess match where one wrong move meant the end. The day of the games was a massive event. Picture the Colosseum, packed with 50,000 screaming spectators from every class of Roman society, from the emperor in his golden box to the common folk in the nosebleed seats. The day didn't start with gladiators, though. The morning was for the venationes, wild beast hunts. Lions, tigers, bears, and crocodiles, all brought from the farthest corners of the empire, were released into the arena to be hunted down by specially trained fighters called bestiarii. The afternoon was reserved for the grim execution of criminals, a stark and brutal reminder of Roman justice. Then as the sun began to set, came the main event. The gladiators would parade into the arena in a grand procession, their polished armor glinting in the light. They'd salute the emperor, and the crowd would roar with anticipation. The fights were brutal, yes, but they weren't always to the death. Gladiators were incredibly valuable assets. A lanista invested a fortune in training and feeding his fighters. He didn't want to lose them in their first match. A fight would usually end when one gladiator was wounded or disarmed and surrendered by raising a finger. At this point, the fate of the loser rested in the hands of the crowd and, ultimately, the editor, the sponsor of the games. If the gladiator had fought bravely, the crowd might wave their handkerchiefs shouting, "Mire! Let him go." He had earned his life for another day. But if he fought poorly or showed cowardice, the crowd would give the infamous thumbs-down gesture, screaming, "Jugula!" Slay him. It was the ultimate form of audience participation, a life-or-death vote. But here's something that might surprise you. Some gladiators were volunteers, free men who chose this life. They were known as auctorati. Why would anyone willingly risk their life in the arena? For the same reasons people pursue dangerous professions today: fame, glory, and money. Successful gladiators were the superstars of their time. They were celebrities, adored by the public. Their images were on mosaics and graffiti on walls. They earned prize money that could make them rich, and they attracted a huge following, especially from women. Some even won their freedom, symbolized by a wooden sword called a rudis. To receive the rudis was the ultimate prize, a symbol that you had survived the arena and earned your place back in society. The world of the gladiator was a paradox. They were slaves and prisoners, yet they were also revered heroes. They lived at the very bottom of the social ladder, yet their fame reached the very top. They were symbols of Roman martial virtue, courage, discipline, and a willingness to face death. Yet they were also instruments of brutal, state-sanctioned entertainment. Their lives were short and violent, but in that brief time they could achieve a level of fame and adoration that few in the ancient world could ever dream of. They were more than just fighters. They were the heart and soul of Rome's most enduring and terrifying spectacle. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back to the age of gladiators. If you found this dive into ancient Rome as fascinating as I did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss our next historical adventure. Let us know in the comments which part of the gladiator's life surprised you the most. Until next time, stay curious.